picture is worth 1,000 words, but in the age of social media, a picture is often worth 1,000 lies. In November 2014, the world fell in love with a photograph of a 12-year-old boy named Devonte Hart. With tears streaming down his face, he hugged a white police officer during a protest in Portland, Oregon. It was an image that seemed to transcend politics, a moment of raw humanity and pure love. The media called it "the hug felt round the world." But if you looked closer, past the tears and the embrace, you would have seen the terror in his eyes. You see, Devonte wasn't crying because he was moved by the moment. He wasn't crying because he felt safe. He was crying because the life he was living behind closed doors was a nightmare of systematic starvation, psychological torture, and absolute control. Just as Mick Philpott viewed his children as financial assets to be milked for government benefits, Jennifer and Sarah Hart viewed their 6 adopted children as emotional props, living accessories used to curate a perfect progressive image for social media likes. To the internet, they were the Hart tribe, a bohemian, globe-trotting family of love and light. But in reality, their home was a prison. In this video, we will look at how 2 mothers who promised to save these children from the broken foster system ended up driving them off a cliff and into the abyss. Let's get started. Jennifer Hart and Sarah Gangler met while attending Northern State University in South Dakota in the late 90s. From the outside, they seemed like a balanced pair. Jennifer was the dominant force, charismatic, loud, and bursting with energy. Sarah was the quiet observer, the submissive partner who adored Jennifer and followed her lead without question. Jennifer in particular had a personality that demanded attention. She was a storyteller. She curated her life like an art exhibit, always presenting herself as the hero of her own narrative. But beneath the surface of tie-dye shirts and peace signs lay a deep, cavernous need for validation, a classic trait of narcissism that would eventually turn deadly. In 2006, living in Minnesota, the couple decided to become foster parents. In the foster care system, sibling groups are often hard to place. Most people want a baby, maybe a toddler. Very few step up to take 3 siblings at once. So when Jennifer and Sarah offered to take in a sibling trio, Markis, Hannah, and Abigail, the system viewed them as saints. They were white, educated, and seemingly stable women stepping in to save 3 black children from a difficult background. The narrative was perfect, and Jennifer ate it up. But 3 wasn't enough. The attention Jennifer received for being a supermom was addictive. In 2008, they adopted a second sibling group from Texas, Devonte, Jeremiah, and Ciera. Suddenly, Jennifer and Sarah were the mothers of 6 black children. They branded themselves the Hart tribe. Jennifer's Facebook page became a shrine to their unconventional lifestyle. She posted thousands of photos. The kids at music festivals, the kids hiking, the kids holding signs about peace and vegetarianism. If you scrolled through her feed, you would see a utopia. Jennifer wrote lengthy, flowery captions about how magical her children were and how hard she worked to heal their past traumas. She constantly reminded her followers that these children came from brokenness and that she was the glue holding them together. But if you thought she adopted these 6 beautiful children because she wanted to nurture them into independent adults, you would sadly be mistaken. You see, Jennifer didn't want children. She wanted dolls. She wanted a captive audience that would never leave, never talk back, and never stop applauding. And almost immediately after the adoptions were finalized, the mask began to slip. The abuse didn't start with violence. It started with control. As early as 2008, when the family was still in Minnesota, a teacher noticed bruises on 6-year-old Hannah's arm. When the teacher gently asked what happened, Hannah didn't lie. She simply said, "Mom hit me with a belt." This wasn't a case of a spanking gone wrong. This was systematic. But when Child Protective Services intervened, Jennifer and Sarah did what manipulators do best. They played the victim. They claimed the system was biased against them because they were lesbians. They claimed the child was lying, a result of her troubled past before adoption. Then in 2010, the cracks widened significantly. One of the daughters, Abigail, came to school with what she called owies on her tummy and back.
She told a teacher that her moms had beaten her and held her head under cold water in the bathtub as punishment. Let that sink in. Holding a child's head underwater. That is not discipline. That is torture. When the police questioned the children, the fear was palpable. Sarah Hart eventually took the fall to protect Jennifer. She admitted to spanking the child, claiming things had gotten out of hand. She was convicted of misdemeanor domestic assault, but the justice system, blinded perhaps by the couple's clean record and middle-class appearance, gave them nothing more than a slap on the wrist. They received probation. The children were not removed. Jennifer, realizing that the eyes of the state were upon her, made a decision. She pulled the children out of school immediately. She announced they would be homeschooling. This is a classic tactic of the abuser: isolation. By removing the children from public school, she removed the only safety net they had. There were no more teachers to spot the bruises, no more school nurses to check their weight. The Hart home became a fortress, and inside that fortress, Jennifer was the warden. Feeling the heat in Minnesota, the family packed up and fled. They moved to Westland, Oregon. They were running away from their reputation, hoping to start fresh where no one knew their secrets. In Oregon, the abuse evolved. It became quieter, more psychological, and centered around one horrific weapon: food. Jennifer Hart was obsessed with the children's diet. She claimed they had allergies, sensitivities, and behavioral issues that required a strict regimen. But in reality, she was starving them. Friends who visited the home described a chilling atmosphere. The children were eerily quiet. They wouldn't speak unless spoken to. One friend recalled that the children acted like little robots. If Jennifer laughed, they laughed. If she was angry, they froze. They were trained to perform. When guests were over, the children were allowed to eat tiny portions of organic food, but behind the scenes, food was withheld as punishment. If a child laughed too loud, no dinner. If they didn't smile for a photo, no breakfast. While Jennifer and Sarah posted photos of bountiful farmers market hauls and elaborate vegetarian feasts, the children were wasting away. They were small for their ages, unnaturally small. Devonte, the boy in the viral photo, was 12 years old, but the size of a 7-year-old. His growth was stunted, his teeth were rotting, and yet the online show continued. Jennifer posted constantly, "My beautiful tribe, healing through nature, love wins." It was during this time, in 2014, that the famous protest photo was taken. Jennifer had dragged the family to a demonstration following the Ferguson unrest. Witnesses later stated that Jennifer actually pushed Devonte toward the police officer, orchestrating the interaction. She needed content. She needed the world to see her son's heart of gold. She wrote on Facebook, "My son has a heart of gold, a compassion that is endless." She basked in the likes and shares. She gave interviews. She became a minor celebrity in the activist community. But she conveniently left out the fact that the boy with the heart of gold was so hungry, he was beginning to suffer from organ damage. The state of Oregon eventually received anonymous reports too. A tipster told authorities the children looked underfed and were seen scavenging for food at a birthday party. But once again, Jennifer charmed her way out of it. She used the children's trauma as a shield. She told social workers that the children were food insecure because of their pasts, that they ate voraciously because they didn't know when to stop. She twisted the narrative so effectively that the social workers left, apologizing for the intrusion. But Jennifer knew her luck was running out. The questions were becoming too frequent. So in 2017, the Harts moved again. This time they went to Woodland, Washington, a rural area where houses are far apart and neighbors generally mind their own business. It was the perfect place to hide. But you can't hide 6 starving children forever. Their new neighbors, the DeKalbs, started noticing strange things almost immediately. The Hart children were rarely seen outside playing. They worked in the yard, engaging in manual labor, but they didn't play. Then the late-night visits began. In the cover of darkness, one of the girls, Hannah, would appear at the DeKalb's door. She was 16 years old, but she was so emaciated she looked like a child. She was missing her 2 front teeth. She begged the neighbors for food, but she didn't ask for candy or toys. She begged for non-perishable items, tortillas, cheese, nuts, things she could hide in her pockets. She told the neighbors, "Don't tell my moms, they'll punish us, they don't feed us." Then Devonte started coming over. He would hop the fence when his parents weren't looking. He asked the neighbors for food too. He told them that his parents withheld meals as punishment for days at a time. Think about the level of desperation required for a child to jump a fence and beg a stranger for a tortilla. These children were living in a nice house with parents who drove a GMC Yukon and went on expensive road trips, yet they were reduced to scavenging to survive. The DeKalbs were horrified. They didn't know what to do at first. They didn't want to cause trouble if they were wrong. But the desperation in Devonte's eyes was undeniable. On Friday, March 23, 2018, Devonte came to the neighbors one last time. He asked for food for his siblings. The DeKalbs finally made the call to Child Protective Services. They reported everything: the late-night begging, the emaciated frames of the children, the fear. This was the call that would seal their fate. On that same day, March 23rd, a CPS worker arrived at the Hart driveway. She knocked on the door. No one answered. She left her card. Jennifer Hart returned home from work shortly after. We don't know exactly what was said inside that house that afternoon, but we can infer the panic. Jennifer knew the game was up.